Welcome to Book to Blueprint, where powerful books become practical blueprints for real life. You do not need more information, you need execution. This is Book to Blueprint. All right, so today we're diving into a book that's, well, it's a wild one. It sits right at that fascinating and sometimes uncomfortable intersection of science and spirituality. This is the true story of a highly respected psychiatrist whose entire world gets turned upside down by just one patient. And it kicks off this incredible journey that makes him question, everything: life, death, and what might come after. And it all boils down to this one really powerful question: what if your deepest fears didn't actually start in this lifetime? I mean, just think about that for a second. Those anxieties, those weird phobias, maybe those patterns in your life you just can't seem to explain. What if the source, the root of all that, isn't from your childhood, but from a life you lived centuries ago? So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, it starts with a pretty classic setup, actually. You've got a doctor who's completely out of ideas and a patient who's just about out of hope. Okay, so on one side of his equation, you've got Dr. Brian Weiss. And this guy is the real deal. We're talking Columbia, Yale Medical School, chairman of psychiatry. His whole world is built on facts, on data, on things you can prove. Then, on the other side, you have his patient, Catherine. For a year and a half, she's been absolutely crippled by these intense anxieties and nightmares. And here's the kicker: nothing, and I mean nothing, in the standard therapy playbook is even touching it. Dr. Weiss has tried everything. He's at the end of his rope. So, as a total last resort, he decides to try hypnosis. The plan was pretty straightforward. Let's see if we can dig up some forgotten, repressed trauma from her childhood that might explain all this. Simple, right? Except what he found was something nobody could have ever predicted. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's 1982. Dr. Weiss gets Catherine into this deep hypnotic trance. He gives her a simple instruction: go back to the time your symptoms began. And she does. But she doesn't go back to her childhood. She goes way, way back. And bam, this is the moment where everything just flips. Instead of talking about being a little girl, Catherine starts describing, with crystal clear detail, being this woman named Aranda, almost 4,000 years in the past. And for a man of science like Dr. Weiss, this is, well, it's impossible. This is not in any textbook. It's completely off the map of what he thought he knew. You'd think recalling past lives would be shocking enough, right? But nope, the story gets even stranger. The sessions started to take another turn, a really extraordinary one. It turns out, in that space between lives, Catherine started to channel something, or someone else. Yeah, she began channeling these beings she called the Masters. The book describes them as these highly evolved, non-physical souls. And get this, they would use her voice to talk directly to Dr. Weiss, and they'd share this incredibly profound wisdom about life, death, the meaning of it all. And their messages weren't vague or philosophical. They were super direct, almost like instructions. They said that fear, our fear, is the number one thing holding us back from spiritual growth. They literally called it a waste of energy that just gets in the way of us doing what we're here to do. Okay, but here's the part that really broke through Dr. Weiss's skepticism. It wasn't just the past life stuff. It was when the masters started revealing things about his personal life, super specific, verifiable details. They talked about his father and about his own son, who had tragically died as a baby. These were things Catherine could not possibly have known, and that was the proof he just couldn't explain away. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, that brings us to the core lessons from the masters. This is really the heart of the whole book. Okay, so a huge concept they talked about was karmic debts. The idea is basically this: we come into every life with certain homework assignments, lessons we need to learn. Maybe it's patience, or being more greedy, or more charitable. And if we learn the lesson, we grow spiritually. But if we fail the test, we have to carry that debt with us to the next life. And guess what? We have to face it all over again, probably in a tougher way. They also laid out some really practical, down-to-earth principles for just living a better life. A big one was balance and harmony, avoiding extremes in anything you do or think. And they were really clear that real wisdom isn't just about book smarts. It's not what you know intellectually. It's about what you know in your heart, and most importantly, what you actually do. It's one thing to talk about love and charity. It's another thing to actually live it. And this leads to what might be the most beautiful idea in the whole book. The masters used this amazing analogy. They said every single human soul is like a perfect, brilliant diamond with 1,000 facets. And our lifetimes, are just the process of cleaning off the dirt from those facets. Some people have cleaned a lot of facets and they really shine, others are still covered in mud. But, and this is the key part, underneath all that dirt, the diamond itself is perfect for every single one of us. So, after all these mind-bending sessions, what was the end result? Well, it was a total transformation, not just for the patient, but for the doctor too. The results were just wow. For Catherine, once she understood where her fears came from, like her fear of drowning was from a past life where she drowned, the fears just vanished. Odd. After a year and a half of getting nowhere, she was finally at peace. And for Dr. Weiss, the change was just as massive. This hardcore man of science transformed into a pioneer of past life therapy. He had a completely new framework for what healing even means. I mean, this experience didn't just change his perspective, it reshaped his entire life and career. He put his professional reputation on the line to tell this story. Why? Because he truly believed he'd stumbled upon a new kind of healing, one that goes deeper than just the brain and gets to the level of the soul. And that really brings us to the big question the book leaves you with. If it's true, if our lives are really just one chapter in a much, much bigger book, and if the whole point is to learn about love and understanding, then how does that change the way we should be living right now, today? How does it change how we treat other people? And maybe more importantly, how we treat ourselves? If you have a book in mind that should be added to our list, comment below. If this blueprint helped you, subscribe, like, and build with us. More blueprints are coming. Stay intentional, stay consistent. We are doing this one book at a time. And remember, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So share this with them and grow together. Real progress becomes stronger when it is shared. Build your life one blueprint at a time. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you do.